Before there was anything we know, there was nothing. Imagine a world with no sun to shine and no moon to glow in the night sky. There were no green trees with leaves that danced in the wind and no colorful flowers growing in fields. There were no mountains reaching high up to the clouds and no deep blue oceans with waves crashing on the shore. Everything was empty and quiet. It was a time of complete darkness, like being in a room with no windows and no lights. The Bible tells us that this emptiness was deep and wide, and a great darkness was over the surface of everything. It was a world waiting for something amazing to happen, a blank page waiting for a beautiful story to be written upon it. In this quiet and dark place, the Spirit of God moved over the waters. It was like a gentle wind blowing over a vast, still ocean. This was the very start of everything, the moment just before creation began. God had a plan to fill the emptiness and bring light into the darkness. He wanted to create a world full of life and beauty. This world would have skies, land, and seas. It would be filled with plants, animals, and eventually people. God was ready to speak and with his words change the nothingness into something wonderful and good. The stage was set for the greatest act of creation the universe would ever know. The idea of a world starting from nothing is a very big thought. It helps us understand how powerful God is. He did not need materials or tools to build the world, like a person builds a house with bricks and wood. Instead, he used his words. His voice was the power that would shape the universe and bring everything into being. The darkness was not a problem for him, it was simply the starting point. This beginning shows us that from a place of emptiness, something truly magnificent can be born. It is a story of hope, showing that even when things seem dark or empty, a new beginning is always possible. This state of formless emptiness is described in the first book of the Bible, called Genesis. The name Genesis means beginning, and that is exactly what this story is about. It is the beginning of the world, the beginning of life, and the beginning of the human story. The darkness was not scary or evil, it was just waiting. It was waiting for the first command, the first light, and the first day. This sets the scene for the incredible week of creation that was about to unfold, where each day would bring something new and amazing into existence, all crafted by God's careful and loving hand. On the very first day, God spoke 4 simple but powerful words, "Let there be light." And just like that, light appeared, cutting through the deep darkness. The light was bright and good. God saw that the light was good, and he separated it from the darkness. He called the light day and the darkness night. This was the first evening and the first morning. This act of creating light was the first step in making the world a place where life could exist. It set up the rhythm of day and night that we still experience today, a constant reminder of the very first day of creation. On the second day, God continued to organize the world. He created a great space to separate the waters. He called this space sky. This created a beautiful blue expanse above, separating the waters in the clouds from the waters on the earth below. The sky gave the world its shape and structure, a ceiling for the new world. On the third day, God gathered the waters below the sky into one place, and dry ground appeared. He called the dry ground land and the gathered waters seas. Then God commanded the land to produce plants, seed-bearing plants and trees that grow fruit with seeds in it. The world was no longer just empty land, it was becoming green and alive. The fourth day was all about filling the sky with lights. God made 2 great lights to govern the day and the night. He made the bigger light, the sun, to shine during the day, and the smaller light, the moon, to glow at night. He also scattered the stars across the dark sky like tiny diamonds. These lights were not just for beauty, they were also to mark the seasons, days, and years. On the 5th day, God turned his attention to the seas and the sky. He spoke again, and the waters became full of living creatures, from tiny fish to giant whales. He also filled the sky with every kind of bird, letting them fly across the expanse above the earth. On the 6th day, God's creation of the living world continued. He made the animals that live on the land. He created livestock, like cows and sheep, and wild animals, like lions and bears. He also made all the small creatures that crawl along the ground. The world was now teeming with life, full of sights and sounds. After creating all the plants and animals, God did something very special. He decided to make human beings. This was the final and most important part of his creation. With the world now perfectly prepared, it was ready for the arrival of mankind, who would be different from all other creatures. After filling the earth with plants and animals, God said, "Let us make mankind in our image, in our likeness." This was a very unique moment. Unlike the animals, humans were to be made to be like God. This meant they would be able to love, think, create, and make choices. God formed the first man from the dust of the ground. He carefully shaped him and then breathed the breath of life into his nostrils. The man, whose name was Adam, became a living being. He was not just another creature. He was a person with a special connection to God, created to look after the beautiful world God had made. God saw that it was not good for the man to be alone. Adam had the animals for company, but he did not have a partner who was like him. So, God decided to make a suitable helper for him. He caused Adam to fall into a deep sleep. While Adam was sleeping, God took one of his ribs. From that rib, he fashioned a woman. When Adam woke up and saw her, he was filled with joy. He recognized that she was part of him, a perfect companion. He named her Eve, which means mother of all the living, because she would be the mother of all people to come. Adam and Eve were the first two people in the world. They were created to live in a close relationship with God and with each other. They were different from one another, but they were also equal, both made in God's image. Together they were given the important job of taking care of the earth. God blessed them and told them to fill the earth and look after it. They were to be good stewards of the land, the sea, and all the animals. This responsibility showed how much God trusted them and valued them as the pinnacle of His creation. The story of Adam and Eve's creation highlights the importance of relationships. It shows that people were not made to be isolated but to live in community, helping and loving one another. The way God created Eve from Adam's side is often seen as a symbol of their closeness and partnership. They were meant to stand side by side, working together to fulfill God's plan. Their creation as the first family sets the stage for the entire human story, a story of love, partnership, and the special bond between humanity and its Creator. After creating Adam and Eve, God prepared a special place for them to live. This place was a beautiful garden called Eden. It was a paradise, a perfect home filled with everything they could ever need. The garden was watered by a river that flowed out of Eden and then split into 4 separate rivers. The land was rich and fertile, and God made all kinds of trees grow there. There were trees that were beautiful to look at, and trees that grew delicious fruit for Adam and Eve to eat. It was a place of peace and beauty, where everything was in perfect harmony. In the middle of this wonderful garden, God planted 2 special trees. One was the tree of life, and the other was the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. God told Adam that he could freely eat from any tree in the garden. He gave them an abundance of good food and beautiful surroundings. However, there was one rule. God commanded them not to eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. He warned them that if they ate from that tree, they would surely die. This one rule was a test of their trust and obedience to their Creator. Life in the Garden of Eden was simple and good. Adam and Eve had everything they needed. They had a close relationship with God, who would walk in the garden in the cool of the day and talk with them. They had no reason to be afraid or ashamed. They had important work to do, taking care of the garden and all the animals. This shows that work was part of God's original plan, a good and fulfilling activity. Their days were filled with purpose, beauty, and a deep connection with God and the world around them. The Garden of Eden represents a state of perfection and innocence. It was the world as God intended it to be, free from sin, sadness, and suffering. Adam and Eve's role was to enjoy this perfect world and maintain their loving relationship with God by trusting Him completely. This story of a perfect beginning is very important for many people. It gives a picture of a world where humanity and God lived in perfect harmony. For many people of faith, the story of creation and the Garden of Eden explains where the world came from and shows the loving and powerful nature of God.